آمين. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. All praise is due to Allah. We praise Him abundantly. We ask Allah to exalt and mention and send His salutations and His blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu salam. As to what follows, of course, these surah which we heard tonight, you know, the Quran is powerful. It's a powerful message to humanity. And there's a variation between the themes of the surah. Some of them, like the difference between the Makki and the Madani revelations have to do with, some of them have to do with legal rulings. You go to Surah An-Nisa, for example, there's a huge, if that's a picture, akhi, barakallah fiqh, delete it, habibi. Jazakallah khair. A picture is not going to benefit. Maybe you'll burn your camera. For example, Surah An-Nisa deals with the rules of inheritance, and it goes to details in that. And other surah have different discussions as well. However, when you come to the from maybe the 28, 26, the 27th chapter, juz until the end, these were primarily Makki surahs, because it was still, the message was being communicated to the disbelievers. And this was that time when the Prophet ﷺ was going through the difficult times and trying to give da'wah to his own people, and they were rejecting the message primarily. So Allah revealed these ayat, which you will not be able to comprehend them fully unless you really know Arabic. Like, I don't know how to explain it. If in Urdu, for example, you may hear, I don't know, what's Iqbal, is that the poet, that the famous poet, for example? And then you hear this and compared to regular speech, regular person, you're like, wow, this guy is something big. And then you hear a speech that is way beyond. You can't compare. You cannot say the biggest poet versus this speech, there's no ground, something that would blow your mind. You see? You can't experience it. Really, because there's nothing in Urdu, for example, like that. Everything in Urdu is going to be human speech. Even when you translate the interpretation of the meaning of the Quran, it's not the same. It's only giving you the meaning, but it doesn't give you the miraculous nature of the choice of words, the speech of Allah. So that's why, according to many of the ulama, the end of Surah An-Najm, when the Prophet ﷺ was reciting the surah among the kuffar, then the last ayah was فَاسْجُدُوا لِلَّهِ وَعْبُدُوا. Everybody did sujood. The believers and the disbelievers, because the end of the surah is just wow. I mean, you cannot explain it. It's unbelievable, but we believe it because it's the speech of Allah. But the impact which it has on human beings is miraculous. And this is why it's always been advised and recommended, learn Arabic. How? There are many ways. Sometimes it requires money and time, going to school, like a regular student. But the end result is fantastic. Actually, nowadays it will benefit you both in the deen and the dunya. If you're bilingual in any job, the people who speak more than one language usually have higher qualifications and better salary and better package, because you're able to deal with two types of people and speak two different languages. It's a common thing. So if you speak English, Urdu and Arabic, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So there's no harm. I mean, it's an investment for the dunya, for the life to come primarily, and also for the dunya. And there's no harm in Islam. When the believers fight in the cause of Allah, the ulama say there's no harm that they're looking forward to the war booty. That does not negate the intention of sincerity, that they want to fight for the word of Allah to be the most supreme. It is allowed to have that sub-intention in this regard. Al-Muhim, one of the ayat which we wanted to highlight and related to the situation of this masjid in particular is in Surah At-Tur, which he recited in the beginning, wherein Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned that those who believe and their progeny, their children, they follow them in Iman, we will allow them to join them together, all of them in paradise, and we will not reduce their deeds in any way. This is an indication that the parents' responsibility towards the children has to do with them nurturing them spiritually, not only financially, not only educationally, as we think today in money. We send them to good schools, don't worry about him. Always happens. This is from the shaitan, we said many times. This is from the shaitan. Any small distraction which is irrelevant to us. He knocked the door or he opened the door. You're gone with him. Maybe in these 5 words I said were the most important from the whole speech. And you probably didn't hear what I said, for example. Not just me, anyone else. Always pay attention during the Jumu'ah. When the khatib is giving khutbah, don't be playing with your fingers and cracking them, playing with your toes, playing with your thawb. All this will nullify the ajr of Jumu'ah. You're supposed to look at the imam and listen to him attentively. So much so that if your friend speaks and you tell him, be quiet, you will lose the ajr of Jumu'ah. As per the authentic hadith. So always focus on, whenever there's a reminder, whenever there's something that has to do with the deen, don't be distracted by less significant things. Now, of course, if someone died, we will all get up and pick him up, say, leave him dying and listen to the speaker. That's extreme. But knocking on the door, opening the door is irrelevant to us. See what happened? I don't know what I was saying earlier. See the evidence that we get distracted? Aywa. The children. So not only taking care of them from a worldly point of view, from a spiritual point of view. Now, this message goes to the sisters first. If you guys don't know, upstairs is very similar to a war zone. يا شيخ مقفل الباب. وعليكم السلام. عشان في تشويش كده على الجو كله. جزاك الله خير. Upstairs is like a war zone. Yesterday my family tried to record the recitation of the Imam. I wish I could let you hear the file. Children screaming, playing, fighting. It's unbelievable. This is not a place to do salah. This is the complaint from sound point of view. From cleanliness point of view, it's an extra dumpster. They have turned this section upstairs to a dumpster. They drink bottles of water, leave them on the ground, and just go home. Absolutely no consideration for بيت من بيوت الله. في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه. The ulama say in regards to this ayah, these homes, these places of worship Allah commanded to be raised, this includes maintenance. It is our responsibility to look after this masjid. And the sisters have to be example, the mothers have to be example for the children. If we want this ayah that the family, the parents were believers and their children follow them in ihsan, if you as a parent throw trash on the ground, your children will do the same thing. If they see you put it in the trash, they will also do the same thing. He will naturally pick up the bottle and look for any trash in the masjid and throw it in the masjid, in the dumpster. So we have to set the example. We've been hearing these complaints on yearly basis, by the way. On yearly basis. The downstairs, they don't let the mothers with children pray downstairs. Understood. Because these children may disturb the other people. But then it doesn't mean that upstairs is a nursery, nor is it a playground. It's still a musalla. It has the right of a place of ibadah. And you all know the hadith of the woman who used to clean the masjid. And she passed away. The Sahaba thought it was not an important person in the society per se. She just cleans the masjid. So they buried her and did janazah and it was done. Then the Prophet ﷺ inquired about her. He hasn't seen her. And she used to clean the masjid. Where is she? They said she passed away. He became angry. Why did you not tell me? And he went to her grave and he performed salah. Alayhi salatu wasalam. To highlight how the only role we know in her Islam, in her biography, we know only one thing she did. Clean the masjid. Period. She wasn't a mufti. She wasn't giving classes. She wasn't teaching the sahabiyat. There's no other virtue she had except cleaning the masjid. So cleaning the masjid is an act of worship in and of itself. Looking after it, making sure it's in mint condition, smells nice, looks nice, feels nice. This applies to the brothers downstairs and the sisters upstairs. So sisters, for the sake of Allah, don't wait for Kabir to go up and have to do a 2-hour cleaning session every night after the salah. We should do it on our own. Everyone who makes something dirty, clean after yourself. As a community, we can maintain the masjid and then there will be blessings. So even those who want to focus in the salah can focus. As for the children can be brought to the masjid. But if the children don't know how to behave, they should not be brought to the masjid. We are with bringing them and teaching them and educating them on how to conduct themselves in the masajid. We are pro that. Because some people are completely against it. In my home country, if they see it, any young man, even if he's 10 years old, if they see him in the first row, they will send him all the way back. All the way back. And they did it to my son. The first one came, put him in the second row. I looked at him. Then the one came in the second row, put him in the third row. Next thing you know, he's 20 rows away. I said, Ya Shaykh, my son, I want him to pray next to me. I had to bring him all the way back, and then all the old people don't understand. Now you try to communicate, say, they have a hadith, a fabricated hadith that says, جَنِّبُوا أَوْلَادَكُمُ الْمَسَاجِدِ. Someone invented this hadith that says, keep your children away from the masajid. La ilaha illallah. Conveniently they fabricate hadith to oppress the children. But then again, some children deserve it. He comes to the first row or the second row, he wants to play, and he's looking around like the one who is praying right now. Every 3 seconds, he pulls his head and makes sure that we're still praying. Ya akhi, what do you want? Where is his father who taught him how to conduct himself in the masjid? Unknown. This child should have been sent to the back. But the one who prays properly, then we encourage him. You don't want him to come in the first row, send him to the second row. That's not fair for the child. He came first. You cannot come 5 minutes before Iqamah and he's been here for 40 minutes, Allah, go back because I'm older. That's not fair, ya akhi. Plus you are making him hate the whole feeling of the masjid. He feels that he's being oppressed. So it is inappropriate to send him back unless he misbehaves. Upstairs, these children are wild, mashallah. Wild, ya akhi. It's like they go into a picnic. They don't feel like they come into the masjid. So as a father, if your child is up there, you speak to him at home before he goes to the masjid. Teach him how to behave. And the mother who's there has to have control. She has to have control. Even if she winds up not praying, meaning her children are making too much noise, she cannot just say, Wallah, khalli walli, Allahu Akbar, and pray with the imam and ruin the salah for the rest of the people. Leave alone these 2 rak'at and control your children. Until you have controlled them, then resume the salah with the imam. Because it's a voluntary act of worship, and harming the believers is haram. And if you have to choose between voluntary and haram, you definitely avoid the haram. So the idea is, from this ayah we learn that we have to work together as parents and children towards entering Jannah as a family, and this begins now. But the parents are the example for the children. If we're not doing it right, they're not going to do it right. We have to blame ourselves. If they copy us, however we do it, they copy us. So let us set a good example, specifically when it comes to the right of the masjid. And we hope that Allah Azza wa Jal will make us among the good examples and make us among His righteous slaves. Don't forget, this could be the Laylatul Qadr. Sahih, this is the night of the 27th, if I'm not mistaken. It already feels peaceful, except for my speech. That's the only thing that is a little aggressive. But other than that, mashallah, it feels like a peaceful night. This is one of the signs, wallahu alam. No one knows. Maybe tomorrow with the sunrise we can also confirm. But like we said, we assume any one of these nights could be the Laylatul Qadr. So don't forget the dua, Allahumma annaka afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'afu anni. And there's another one with the additional word Kareem, that is debatable. But the safer one is Allahumma annaka afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'afu anni. So don't forget to say that often. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.